What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 26 of the Speak Up Sports Podcast with Cass, Chris, and Shive. What's going on, fellas?
What's good?
What's up, y'all?
What's up, Ham?
What's up? Nothing. Chill.
Good to see y'all, man.
What's up?
What's going on? What's going on? We got a few great weekends back to back. We had the Super Bowl a couple weeks ago. Now we just had the All-Star weekend as well. And that's kind of been the topic in the news over the past few days, especially as we kind of transition from the NFL world to the NBA world. What'd you guys think of All-Star weekend, man?
What you sipping on today? Hold on. What you sipping on today, Chris? What you got?
Just a little old Crown. A little Crown. That's it.
What special edition is that?
Right. How much is that bottle?
Just regular Crown, man.
Yeah, I know y'all seen that evil Don Julio out there.
That's crazy.
You got that shit for Chris. I know you got to
You
order.
already got it.
Nah.
You already got it.
My bad though. But All-Star weekend. Overall thoughts. It was a miss. It was a miss. The fact that everybody came away from it saying that their best part of it was a 5-minute competition between Steph and Sabrina kind of tells you all you need to know about the weekend. And that they're saying that they were competing harder during Celebrity Game than the actual All-Star game. It was, It's a lot they got to change up, and I think they know it after this weekend. Like, I don't know how. Of course, we talked about, a couple of options, but like, it was rough. It was rough watching. Saturday night, the 3-point contest, sure, that's good, but the skills competition, they made a joke of that. And it was way too long. And then the dunk contest was also like the judging. It wasn't even the dunks this year. It was really the judges that really turned everybody off. It's just a weird situation overall. And then whatever we saw on Sunday. So it was just rough to see all of that. But what were your thoughts, Chris?
Man, is this not what we expected? This has been going on for years. It's been a tailspin going downhill. It's funny that, NFL and NBA is like on a parallel course, like both the Pro Bowl weekend, All-Star weekend, they don't have that firepower no more. It's nothing good to watch, if you ask me. Like, it's just a bad product, and obviously they're gonna have to fix it. What is the fix? Don't know. It's bad when you got everybody coming out saying, hey, maybe y'all should try doing this. You got Whiteside saying whoever wins, they get home court advantage in the finals, no matter what team it is, but whatever conference they get home. If you got people coming out like that saying just random shit like that, it's bad. It was pretty bad.
I don't necessarily disagree with that, but in terms of the make it for the finals home court advantage, but the other thing is, we say that it's been going like that for years, and to an extent it has, but the past few years have not been bad All-Star games, especially in the end, especially what they were doing with the target scores.
Which I think they should have kept.
Like that. I don't understand why they switched that. I don't understand why they went away from the drafting and going to the East and West, because it started there. It started from that where people are like, oh, look at this, look at the East team compared to the West. You got nothing but Hall of Famers and then a bunch of dudes, and then I think the biggest key word is what Cass started off with. It was a miss, and I feel like that's been the word that goes with the NBA the entire season, because we've been talking about it, but not that we have any type of public notoriety or anything like that, but out of we all watch sports shows all throughout the day, all throughout the week. How has any sports show talked about the All-Star more than us? Like, truly? Like, if you really think about it, has any of them talked about it more than us? We've talked about it to some extent for at least 3-4 episodes.
Yeah.
Especially over the past couple episodes, we've talked about it in a lot. So it's like, that's a miss for the NBA, because what's going on with your marketing? Christmas Day, miss for the NBA, because obviously the NFL ended up taking that over, but nobody even really talked about it for real. MLK, miss. You know, you can say to an extent like and if we really want to be for real with it, the only reason that the in-season tournament wasn't a complete miss is because of LeBron and KD. That's really what saved it. Like the games against the Suns. There was a couple other close games, but that's probably the most memorable game, the game that most people remember. I don't know if y'all remember the actual championship game? I didn't even watch it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I watched some of it. I remember AD growling and shit.
Yeah, the sad part about that is like we're at this point in the season, and there really is an afterthought. Like that whole in-season tournament is just a complete afterthought.
Everything's been an afterthought. Has there been a single memorable game this year for real? Like for real?
It's funny you said that because it's not like we didn't have somebody score 70 this year.
Has that been memorable?
So
that
I'm just like,
and that
but I'm just saying, it's funny that you're saying it. That's how right, and like a whole bunch of people snap. But I just said it's funny that you say that because it has been some, but it's just this whole season in general, in totality, it makes you forget it. Like, oh, okay, he scored 70.
The rivalry week, we talked about rivalry week more than they did not talk about rivalry week, period. Throughout the entirety of like all of the national sports media. They talked about it, you know, ESPN, TNT, they talked about it during the actual games of it, but nobody, you know,
they didn't do it like NBA. They didn't like break down the games that are on rivalry week. Like they didn't do anything.
If people probably didn't even realize it. The reason that the Embiid versus Jokic thing blew up is because that was during NBA rivalry week, where Embiid ended up missing the game, and people were saying he was ducking Jokic, blah blah blah. That ultimately led to his, or I don't want to say led to his, but people assume that it led to what we now see is a longer lasting injury. Yeah. But you know, it was never talked about. Nobody knows that. So like, it's the NBA. It's not just on the NBA as a whole, as an organization in terms of their marketing. They're definitely doing a piss poor job. But it's also on the players. Like it's on the players. We've talked about it a little bit. Once again, we've been talking about it more than I feel like everybody else. Like, you know, we talked about it a little bit in terms of people taking the torch. Taking the torch from LeBron, Steph. And now it's being talked about post All-Star break. But I mean, the guys don't even seem like they fucking want it. You know, we talked about Ant,
that's the main thing.
And then Ant said his dumbass comments. You know, that out of all the things, you know, Ant has probably been spot on for the most part in terms of like his limelight, in terms of how he's been as a star. But the shit he said about like people just coming here to like it's a vacation, like nobody's really trying to go hard. It's like, bruh. It's like if you want to take the reins, you're supposed to set the standard. You're supposed to set the standard. We don't. Obviously, we talked about Zion missing out on that, his opportunity there. He wasn't even present in All-Star Weekend, and he's an afterthought. He's really an afterthought in the NBA if you really want to keep it a bean. You know, Wemby, he got to play a little bit in the Rising Stars game, but you know there was no real spotlight of him.
And then Ant fucked that up too. Being on his team, and he bullshitting.
That's even more egregious outside of the comments. Is that why? Like, bro, like, okay, it might have been funny to do in the All-Star game, but like even then, like that might have just been like a one shot thing. Like you take one shot and you're like,
get you a couple lefties up and then blah, yeah. But
you did that and ruined the entirety of. You really ruined the entirety of that whole moment because everybody's like, bro, like you can see even the players on the sidelines are like, dog, like you really did this shit, like come on, dog, like. I think somebody said something to him because he obviously didn't do it for the entirety rest of the weekend. With it too, you know, it's crazy, man, and I mean it's just crazy the NBA as a whole because not only that, have we talked really about how they have. Has the rookies been spotlighted at all to go back to the Rising Stars games outside of Wemby? Jaime Jaquez, he got his opportunity to go in the dunk contest. But yeah,
you don't hear anything about Brandon Miller. You don't hear anything about Scoot. Nothing.
Keontae George.
You don't hear anything about what they're doing. I get like, okay, you look at the teams that they're on. Of course, they're like, you know, smaller markets and all that. But you still have to market your young talent. You cannot rely going forward. You cannot keep relying on LeBron KD and Steph to just hold you over. Like these guys
And
are
KD is
35,
a loose KD
36,
for
and
real,
38.
for real.
Yeah,
Super loose
honestly,
KD.
yeah.
But
And
it's like
it's just the direction right now of this league is very questionable. It's very questionable. And like you said, I did not like Ant saying that because like you were supposed to be the one going out there, and I don't expect LeBron and Steph and the older guys to really go out there and compete. They've been doing it for 10 plus years. It's on you to come out here and be like, it's on you to come out and be like, yo, I'm gonna take it to Jaylen Brown head. I'm gonna take it to Jason Tatum head. You know what I mean? Like, and let's rock. But no, if you saying it's a vacation, nobody like. What if LeBron would have said that shit when he was 21, going up against who he went up against, going up
LeBron would have
against
said that
Shaq
shit
and them?
now.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy, honestly.
But and it's like, you know, you would like to see Ant. You would like to see Ant be, you know, to go back to your point about LeBron and Steph and them not really competing. If Ant and them, like Therese Halliburton trying Steph, if Ant is trying Bron, like they're gonna go hard. They're like they're not just gonna go out like that. They're not gonna be key and doing all that bullshit. So it's like it's on both of them. It's on both of them to set the tone. Like it's on, like we talked about, like how it's really everything. The NBA just as a whole needs like a whole new. It needs to transform everything. To even go back to the Steph and Sabrina, that whole moment was ruined by Kenny Smith sitting here talking about, oh, like at the beginning it seemed like he was all on Sabrina, and then at the end it's like, oh, you know, she didn't shoot from WNBA range, and like she should have shot from there because she's used to it. Now he's trying to come out and be like, oh, if you know basketball, you know basketball. Like my guy,
So much
like,
ado about nothing. They
it
start talking
has
about dolls and shit.
It has nothing to do
where
with
did that even come
basketball.
from?
Like your comments had nothing to do with basketball. That's not what people are upset about. It's like the entire point of that's like that part of All-Star Weekend was to go against exactly what the fuck you came up talking about, bro. Like that was the entire point, and you're ruining it. And it goes back to some of the conversation that we've talked about, just the coverage of the NBA is in the coverage of sports. Really, it's like it's all about rings. It's all about, you know, winning and this, that, and the third, and everything else falls to the wayside. How do you guys feel about that conversation?
The way this season has gone, I'll let you go right after this, Chris. The way this season has gone, it's not doing nothing but tying into that. It seems like this whole season just waiting to the playoffs. And that's kind of what it is. Nobody's going to care until this last little stretch. And they said it. I even heard like Harden came out and said it today. Like a lot of teams like, okay, this the stretch. We got the next 29, 30 games, lock in. This is what they've been waiting on all season. Sadly, and that just ties into the point that whatever happened before this, including the All-Star weekend, was just fluff, just biding time. What do you think, Chris?
I mean, it sucks. I mean, but that is what it is, because I mean, even Jason Tatum came out and said, we're judged by rings. So whatever I'm doing right now, I mean, it's cool, but because I lost in the finals, nobody thinks he said like nobody would think of him as an MVP candidate. You hold it against him because you made it to the mountaintop, but you lost in the finals. So like,
and then Draymond, made that larger.
Right.
His comments are in the game.
And so I think, and then they tried to, NBA tried to get control of it with the whole load management thing. But I mean, teams are finding ways around it. They be resting guys all the time still. They still do it. So you could tell that's where it's trending. Like, hey, we got to make it to this point and then go all out. We can't play full force every night. Like teams, I done seen teams, down by 20 and come back. But I also seen teams down by 20 in the third and be like, all right, we just gonna sit the starters. We got a back-to-back the next day or whatever, or we got a game in 2 days. We just gonna, but I mean, that takes away from the product, man. And I want to go back with the All-Star thing. I'm wondering what y'all think about, I get what you're saying about, Anthony Edwards. He need to come out and set the tone, but when you got a whole bunch of guys, I get you like LeBron, for instance. He'll go back at him, but I mean, you got the whole mindset of the guys out there like, I don't really care to be out here. And then you got this show off out here trying to show us up for whatever reason. And then you know, I wonder if that plays into why a lot of them don't really care for it, because like, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's also that thing like they're only doing that because nobody else is. You know what I mean? So you're really just following somebody else's lead, and then like you're
Right.
not going to like speak out. But like somebody will. Somebody starts. I think if somebody starts, like more people will like get on that kind of wagon and say, "All right, let's go." But I mean, I don't know. We're
And I
not in the
wouldn't
locker rooms either, so they might have been doing the shit on purpose to get more money next year. I don't know what but like you never really know what their motives are. Go
And I
ahead.
wouldn't even say that it's necessarily on Ant. Like, I mean, he's definitely one of the people that should
I
be
was just
setting the
using an
tone as
example.
somebody. Yeah, as somebody. I meant more so as like for him in his position, like being the when we've heard the conversation about, like I said, like who's the next up, like for him to really take hold of that, it would have been nice to see. But I mean, the person that has to set the tone, I mean, it is ultimately LeBron. It's LeBron and Steph. It's LeBron. Like, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. I know some people are even, Stephen A. He's been trying for years. He's got his little beef with LeBron, but he's trying to blame the dunk contest on LeBron and where it has gone, which to an extent, you can. I would say LeBron probably has the smallest portion of that because obviously he was the biggest star at the point in time that chose not to do it.
Yeah.
But I think it also goes back to like what to expand a little bit more about what I was talking about in terms of, it's all about rings and stuff like that. You've heard Dame even talk about it throughout the season. Like he doesn't think that his career is diminished if he doesn't have a ring and stuff like that. But if you really start to think about it, like it's real, like those guys back in the 90s and the 80s, especially, it's one of my pet peeves when folks have the MJ versus LeBron debate or, the 90s versus now debate and stuff like that, what the NBA used to look like. It's almost like those guys back in the day were way more revered, even though they weren't winners. Like we hear about, when we're listening to national media and stuff like that, they talk about the Rough Riders and the Knicks and stuff like that. Like the Knicks weren't, the Knicks didn't win a goddamn thing. So in reality, like if it was today's game, we'd be like, these niggas are trash. Like they don't get out the second round. They went to the finals, they lost. Like, they're trash. Okay, stop. Every time they talk about, oh, Michael Jordan had to go through this tough road of going through Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. Like Gary Payton and Sean Kemp are probably not even top 50 players at this point right now. For real. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful to them, but it's like how the reverence that people have or for the 90s in that game and the 80s in that game and stuff like that. And it's like now you got these guys that are in those similar, let's say, just to compare apples to apples, a Gary Payton, a Patrick Ewing is a Paul George, is a Dwight Howard, is a, even CP3 to an extent. CP3 gets a little bit of love. He was kind of sprinkled in towards the end of that kind of shift, like with LeBron and some of those guys. But you ask a lot of fans, you're like, nah. Like people make fun of Chris Paul all the time. They call him CP0. They call him all kind of crazy bullshit. Ringless.
Facts.
They said he said he was addicted to goddamn getting to the finals, and niggas say he's relapsing or whatever the hell they were saying. But it's like we don't revere these players like these, maybe not the best. We're not revering them the same way they used to do in the 90s. What do y'all think about that?
I mean,
I would say yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think it all goes back to the whole All-Star what we talking about. I mean, it's effort. Them the same guys, they might not be as good, but every night, what has been said is every night, they bringing it to you. They gonna play hard every night, every game. They're not taking off. I mean, they might not be talent wise as good as the ones this right now, but I mean, the All-Star game, they were taking it serious. Every game they were taking it serious. So I think that is the biggest difference in general.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think just overall, just a change of time. It's a change in how media is, and I think that's the main thing of the difference between the '90s and now. And yeah, that ring culture has gotten kind of toxic now, to a point.
It's gotten super toxic.
Because really, if you think about like early 2000s, it wasn't like that. even like when you get to like the late 2000s, it wasn't like this. Like even when you're talking about some of the guys that were in the league that haven't won anything yet, you know what I mean? Like even the young guys, like people weren't treating Melo and CP like they're treating Jason Tatum at 26 when they were 26. You know what I mean? It's just a whole different, like, it's, I don't know.
I can tell you why. I can tell you why. It all started whenever niggas started getting nervous that LeBron was going to pass MJ, whether you feel he has or not. As soon as that shit started happening, the media overcorrected themselves. They went to a point where they had to hate on LeBron so hard, and now they're struggling to revert it back because all the fans, all your prime fans, especially, you know, we talked about it earlier in the year, you know, NBA is kind of winning in the social media space. All your social media fans, all those fans have been conditioned to just know it's rings. It's, you know, even I hate to keep going back to this point, but I mean, honestly, was the turning point. The 6-0, the 6 for 6, 6-0. That shit was never fucking talked about a day in life ever. Ever until niggas started wanting to hate on LeBron. And once LeBron started winning rings, because when we were growing up, when we were in high school, it was very much a thing in the media. LeBron wins a ring, he's the best. As soon as he won a ring, it started to go, oh, but he lost against the Mavericks. As soon as he won his back-to-back, oh, then it started to do the it wasn't a 3-peat. Then they started doing, once he went to he obviously got his ring in Cleveland and went to, he's not 6-0. He's not undefeated. So now, even I mentioned it a couple episodes ago, we've started to get to where everybody that's in the media, everybody that's covering the game are guys that have won rings. And that's all they talk about. That's all they act like. Shaq is always like, oh, it's time for the playoffs. You got to go out there and get 30-10, 30-12. Like, relax.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Relax.
It's crazy because I mean, it really gets ridiculous. Like, you got people dropping like points out here, and it's like, well, I mean, what does that matter? You only doing the regular season. You won't show up when it happens. But I mean, this is greatness. Like, you just because you're doing the regular, I mean, it's hard to do.
It is. It is hard to do, and it is about. And I completely understand about holding guys to a point where if they want to separate themselves from, maybe all-star to superstar, which is where probably we should start kind of having that delineation. A superstar is like a Steph, LeBron, KD, maybe Giannis, Jokic. All-stars are like your Embiids, even though he's an MVP. These guys that haven't necessarily won at the highest levels. And maybe that's where we need to stop trying to call everybody a superstar, or stop trying to call everybody this. Because
that's true. Because a lot of times, for instance, I like Ant, but it's like, or no, I take that back. I like Ja. As soon as like he came in the scene, the following year he's a superstar. It's like, how? Like, I get the performance he's doing, I get the wow he has, but you can't just say he's a superstar and he's hopped over all these other people who done made the playoffs, who done made conference
top 10,
finals,
top 12,
and he just hopped straight over. And I'm like, how do y'all? Where's the judgment coming from? Where's the scale at? Because that part don't make sense.
That part, and it doesn't make sense at all, and it's hard because sometimes they do that, and so part of it is projecting to what it could be, and then we do see Ja elevate. Ja ended up were they like the 2 seed, 2-3 seed last year. Mm-hmm. He brings his team to a certain level of success. So it's like, okay, it is somewhat warranted, but on the other flip side, it's like they build you up to tear you down. They built Ja up, and then the moment that anything went wrong, they try to tear him down. They try to say he isn't that, he isn't shit, he's a thug, whatever. You on the other flip side, where it's not like involving drugs or like anything like that, you've got Zion, where they built Zion. If you remember, before Zion got drafted, they were talking about is Zion already a top 15 player in the NBA? They did the exact same shit to Wemby, talking about is he a top 20 player, whatever. But they did that to Zion. They were ranking Zion as a top 12 to 15 NBA player in the league before he even got drafted. And
it was
so
already
they built
projected the Zion versus LeBron
exactly.
immediately.
He was supposed to take over when there's other guys in the league that, it's like these other guys, we still have Giannis. We still have, at that point in time, you got your Kyries or, whomever else is coming. I think Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown were both right around there or right before. You got all these guys coming up, and they just were so quick to hop on. Trae Young, I feel bad for Trae Young because Trae Young's seemingly the person that got skipped over. Trae Young was the guy that went to the Eastern Conference Finals and had a lot of playoff success. But now we've gotten the Tyrese Halliburtons that have jumped Trae or the Ja Morants that have jumped Trae and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not sure. In terms of the suggestions for the All-Star game and where you guys can see them taking it to maybe improve the game, what do you guys have? What are the things that you think can be changed to make it more exciting?
I don't know, man. As far as the weekend, I mean, we've seen all kinds of stuff thrown out these last couple of days. I've seen making only the All-Stars able to compete in the 3-point and dunk contest. Like only those 24 people are able, and you got to basically choose from those. And the Chris Broussard talking about moving it up in a day, that's shit not gonna help. Is as far as the All-Star game, a lot of people are saying scrap it, which I don't think that's going to happen realistically.
It's not the solution.
I don't know, man. I don't think the more I look at it, like even adding an event like the 1-on-1 thing, like are they really going to I don't know. Are they going to market it, and are they going to actually do it? Like who competes? Like how are they going to come up with who does it to make it not boring over a course of however long they do it, a couple of hours, an hour or whatever. It's a lot that they got to figure out, but I don't even know like where they begin. That's the tough part about all this. I mean, you got a dunk contest, like props to Mac McClung, but he's not even in the NBA. He's winning this thing twice in a row. It's like, that is a problem. That is a big problem.
And you can't miss. How do they market that? How do they market it? Because if you remember, one of the better ones, dunk contest was the Blake Griffin jumping over the car. That was all over the commercials. If you guys remember when we were growing up, once he jumped over that car, he was on every key commercial known to man. So like
that's true.
Dwight Howard with the Superman cape. How many times have you guys seen that growing up? Like,
it's like, yeah. I don't know. And it's like, okay, you get to the point now where you're doing like a lot of repeat dunks. At a certain point, you just gotta, I don't know. And these guys aren't professional dunkers. Like these guys in the NBA are not professional dunkers like the ones you see on YouTube and all this other stuff. They're not. They're just not. So it's like, and they're not going to be. So it's like, what do you do? Do you scrap the dunk contest? What do you replace it with? It's like, how would that even go over? I don't know.
I feel like they do a good job of picking the 3-point, and I actually enjoy the skills challenge. I mean, I never thought that the skills challenge was something to take too seriously either way.
I think they changed it too much, though. I like the one where they were going side by side at the same time. I like that one. It's just like all these gimmicks. I didn't really rock with the court. I didn't really rock with the LED core. Like I guess it's something new.
It was cool.
But it just felt like too much going on.
Yeah, it's definitely when you got to do all that. Like that you have an issue with the actual product itself. Like that like when you're doing all the extra shit to make it pop. Like, come on.
Yeah,
I think they should forcefully pick the NBA dunk contest. Honestly, a year in advance, it gives you time. So the dunkers are announced at the All-Star the year before. Obviously you leave one place for like the winner, but then you have the guys, and then you just have maybe a pool of replacements. 3 or 4 replacements that in the event that there's an injury or anything like that. But you have to do it. Like, or if we want to talk about something, if we want to talk about something like money wise, shit. since they want to do the little 65 games, and if you don't get all NBA, if you don't do the fucking NBA dunk contest, you cannot be a max contract player. Period. If you're selected and you don't do that, motherfucker, because of anything outside of injury or like something personally going on, you don't get a max contract.
That's gonna be tough.
Is it? Is it like
I don't think they'll sign off on that. The NBA PA.
It ain't nothing to sign off on. You're gonna do it. Basically, if I'm Adam Silver, it's nothing. It ain't no signing off. You're gonna do it. Like it's like why do we have to keep incentivizing people? Like I get it. You have your value and you want to be paid for your value. Blah 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 blah. I get that. I get all that. But do we really need to incentivize you guys to have an all-star game? We really need to incentivize you guys to do a dunk contest, or like you're getting all of the publicity in the world. All eyes are on you. It's the NBA Super Bowl. Everything is on you. All eyes are on you during that dunk contest. Like you are the man. You win the dunk contest. You're gonna. Even Matt McClung, like he won the dunk contest. He got into the league last year after the dunk contest, but people know his fucking name. Yeah. Even though, some of us that are basketball fans might have known about him before, but like people know who Matt McClung is. Jacob Toppin, I'm sure his name is going to catch a little bit of buzz. Like niggas did not know who he was before, I'm sure. Jaylen Brown, even to an extent, I'm not even to an extent. Jaylen Brown is probably going to be the most talked about person from the All-Star weekend because of how trash his dunks were. But at the end of the day, he's going to get that boost public. Like, he's going to get that.
Especially being the only star to do it. It's like, oh, what? Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown was and then you automatically get boosted up because of who you're around. So.
And I think that's truly why they let him,
go
past.
Whatever. Only other thing you can do, man, start adding WNBA to it, man. Play each other. Mix the teams up. I know it's tough.
That's
but
tough too.
You gotta create some.
It's their off season, which makes it, and they're kind of ramping up to get back into it.
More publicity anyway.
I mean, yeah.
I think they would greatly benefit from it, but the NBA, I think, would not, because I think that those dudes, if they're playing like that against other NBA players, ain't no way in hell they're giving an ounce of effort versus some women. Because as soon as Sabrina Ionescu crosses somebody and you hear that, ooh, like it's over. It's over. You gonna start seeing niggas get mad, like they pry her.
That's what we need. We need them niggas to hype these niggas. Y'all get crossed up out here. All right.
You gonna start seeing niggas talking crazy to some of the women.
Come down here, Cass.
Nah, that should be more of a layup line.
Yeah.
And then one of the females, they're gonna dunk and then everybody go crazy. And you could like on a wide open little lake, go dunk. Like, no, ain't nobody trying to see that, man. I'm
not trying to see that.
I'm not trying to see that.
I'm definitely cool with the 3-point. I'm cool with that. Sabrina, she showed her.
Realistically, it's only a select few that can actually do that. Which, I mean, I guess that's all you need. But
Caitlin Clark,
yeah.
I mean, they can do another skills challenge, do horse or some shit. I don't care.
Which they had. Well,
it
wasn't a skills challenge. It was that thing that happened before the skills challenge. They took it away.
Used to have it'd be like the Heat team, like somebody.
Yeah, that type of shit. Yeah, they had the WNBA players a part of that, but I don't know, man.
That one was a little tough because they always had to do the freaking half court shot, and nobody could ever hit that bitch.
Yeah, at least she ain't like Scotty Barnes and turning around backwards and Scotty Barnes.
But even then, like it's just goofy. Like it's goofy. Another idea, another couple ideas is, number one, have everybody, if you're in the All-Star game, you have to participate in something.
I really think that's the one that's the easiest to implement, I should say. I think
definitely.
If you want to be here, you better be doing something else besides this All-Star game.
And then if you, in the event that there's like, maybe you're just like, it's a bunch of in-game ass dunkers. Like you pick a couple from the All-Star game, and then you get 2 others or 1 or 2 others from, the rest of the NBA pool that you're like,
Even this year, like, okay, Jaylen Brown was in the All-Star game. You keep him in. I'm just looking at the pool from who else is in here. Donovan Mitchell probably
bring Braun dumbass.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell, Bron. Who else? I don't want to say PG because he ain't really. Ant, yeah, that's you got
I
your
think
four.
Cat would have been a good one. Ant.
Like it's a lot more. Like y'all can do it. It's ridiculous. Like I don't know.
Trying to think of who else would be a great. I mean, obviously Zion. Everybody want to see Zion.
Yeah, he got to make it to the All-Star first. To the
Zion. I mean, Scoot. I mean, they could have done. They could do a fucking rookie.
They could have brought the
do a
rookies.
rookie or sophomore dunk contest, and then a star rookie, rising star dunk contest versus all-star dunk contest. You got 2 on each side, and then whoever wins,
I feel like
do
they
get
did
out.
like something like that before. Like I feel like they did not like rising stars, but it was like teams. Like it was like 2 on 2, and then
It's just so much.
2 went against each other. I don't know.
And then the other thing I think that they could add is to go along with Ant's point, make it this. I would hate this personally just because these last 4 or 5 days without the NBA is kind of whack. But make it a 2-week break. Make it like make the actual break from the game a little bit longer. So if they do have like a tough game, a hard for All-Star game, now they know they have a week and a half off.
Another week
not
instead
just
of like 3 days.
Just 4 days. Because the Stars really don't get no time off.
They back to practice today. So you really only had 2 off days, Monday and Tuesday.
So give them a couple days. Give them a week. If you don't want to make it 2 weeks, give them a week and maybe cut down on all the All-Star festivities. Because, I mean, I did see, especially this year, now that everybody's got a platform, there was a lot of motherfuckers doing interviews, like, everywhere. Even in the Super Bowl. It feels like everybody was stopping.
Was wild.
They would stop and do some interview at some podcast or something. And, you got one person doing 10 interviews in a day. Mm-hmm. So
it's a lot going. I mean, I heard one suggestion, and then we can kind of tail this off here, but moving it to the end of the season, kind of how NFL is. There's a lot of problems that come with that because of how long the NBA. First of all, how long the NBA playoffs is. You know what I mean? Unless you do it before the playoffs, I don't know. I get moving it to the end of the season, but also it's like that'll be tough logistically because these guys, especially these NBA guys, like they be gone, like they are out of there.
And then you gotta
come back and kind of ramp up to do that stuff. Yeah, I don't know, man. They got a lot to think about. A lot to talk about.
They do got a lot to think about. And, one of the things that I just mentioned before, now that we can kind of switch subjects a little bit, even though we're kind of sticking on the topic of All-Star, was, the interviews. Everybody was doing interviews. Everybody was talking. Two of the most notable, I guess, talking points come probably from the same team. For the Milwaukee Bucks, it seems like them boys was just out there yapping. And everybody had it seems like there might be a little bit more going on in Milwaukee,
For sure.
And actually I said 2, honestly 3, because people are undoubtedly going to talk about Dame and his little
Pat Bev,
wish list and starting 5. Yeah, you got Pat Bev over there talking crazy.
Yeah.
Dang, I really didn't even think about that when Pat Bev would start standing up for Doc. That's why, because he's on the squad. Like I didn't even think of that. Didn't even register in my head like that. But to start, before we get into Glenn Rivers and what he got going on, how do y'all feel about Giannis Antetokounmpo saying that he doesn't watch the game really at all post, outside? He didn't say it explicitly, but we're assuming outside of film, outside of study, like for your opponents and stuff like that.
I mean, I don't think it was that crazy, honestly. If he means like that, he made it seem like he don't watch this shit at all, and he's going into like when he says that he's going into the game and he don't know what guys do, tendencies and stuff, and he wants to be surprised because it makes it harder. I don't believe that. I don't believe his coach will let him get away with that. Hard. Like, I don't know. I just so now you just talking. Now, as far as like watching other games, like Bron be like locked in the games on his off days, yeah, I can believe that because a lot of guys. I'm pretty sure Kawhi does not watch basketball when he's not playing. I know Russ doesn't.
I 100% believe Kawhi watches basketball a bunch.
You
outside of
think so?
basketball.
Well, I know
100%.
Russ does. I know Russ don't. Like, for sure. And I mean, I know there's other guys like that just don't. They're not tapped into other teams like that. Just sitting there watching league pass all day, which Kawhi might, but like that part, I can kind of believe more than like sitting there saying like you don't know who you're going against. Like that shit is like. But Giannis, he's done this. He did his I can't remember exactly what he said. Maybe last year or year before. Like like during his time, he always come up with some random ass crazy shit. Just be talking, and he thinks it's funny. I guess it's not. I don't think so, but
at all. Like the innocent, I'm 21-year-old Giannis is out, bro. You're a grown ass man. Stop with all
that
these
shit is
little
out the window.
corny
You too
ass
old for this
jokes,
shit.
bro. Like, stop, bro. Like, stop. It's enough. Enough's enough, my boy.
Yeah,
Well, what about you, Chris?
Man, I got the same sentiment. Like I really feel like from his quote, it sounded like he was like, I don't fuck with no film and shit like that. And if that's the case, y'all gotta get a real coach then, because there's no way you can have your star players coming out and saying I don't watch film or I don't lock into that kind of stuff. I just want to be that don't even make sense. That don't even go well with your game plan, because you got to have a game plan to actually play these games or whatever. But as far as else, I mean, I think he watched the game. I think he liked it, to be honest with you. I think, like you said, he just being straight up childish at this point. I think he's just talking. For real, I believe he watched game, because he said he don't fuck with his opponents, but it's a video of what, like 2 years ago, All-Star, him asking to hold Russ baby or something like that. Like, what you mean you don't mess with your opponent, but you were asking to hold somebody else's son? Like, come on now, you be locked in.
Yeah.
Don't do that. So
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just born in Milwaukee. I don't fucking know.
And maybe he's just trying to build up his own mystique and web of lies that we seem to do when we start to build up our athletes. But it's like, bro, Giannis, come on, bro. Like, first of all, stop. And I honestly don't like it, because how do you expect to be great at something if you're not studying your contemporaries?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that you have to be. No, let me not say that. How do you separate yourself from the greats? If you want to say, even if you are great, because in basketball and sports, you can be great off of just pure natural talent. I think there's a lot. I think a lot of fans don't necessarily realize how many athletes really don't necessarily understand the game completely, like they claim they do. I think that's not to hate on Draymond, but that's a lot of reason why Draymond is successful, because the rest of the league is dumb as hell and he's smart. And in reality, he doesn't have the same skill as 90% of the league, in my opinion. Even on the defensive side, he's been a defensive player of the year. Is Draymond a lockdown defender? He's not. Absolutely not. If you've ever watched a single Draymond Green
he's
game,
not lockdown defender.
You've never seen him locked down.
You never seen him like good. His timing is good, and
he's
he can
smart.
tell who he knows tendencies. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think fans would be surprised at the amount of players that really, like I said, aren't as smart or as well versed in the game as we think. But like, it's impossible, especially as a person like Giannis in the position that he's in, where people are starting to include him in top 15, top 20 all time conversations. If you're not paying attention to your contemporaries or what they're doing, how they're doing, learning from them, then what are you doing? And I know that is not even something that just goes to sports. Like, even in the working field, I'm sure some of y'all coworkers, I don't know, if y'all have direct competitors and stuff like that, but like, my coworkers be sitting there like, oh, did you see XYZ just got bought by? I'm like, no, nigga, I don't look at that shit ever. Like, I don't look at that shit. Nigga, what are you talking about? But they're paying attention. They're locked in. They want to be great at what the hell they know this competitor has lost XYZ. They lost their CEO. So, it's stuff like that. Like, so Giannis, come on, bro. Like, come on, bro. Stop it.
You can't sit there and just basically say like, oh, I'll go into games unprepared. Like, that shit is crazy.
It's also like, it also
especially
makes me be
especially after everything else that's going on with your team right now.
Like, there's a lot going on with your team, but it's also like, it's like, bro, what point are you trying to get across? Like, What are you thinking? Like now, people are gonna be like, "Shit." So all them times when you was getting ate up by Miami in that wall shit, you ain't learn nothing. You weren't prepared. And what is he? What is he gonna say?
I mean, I think for him, man, that's a team issue because I feel like once it's one of the things where they probably let him do whatever he want to do because they don't want to lose him as a top player. And like when you have something like that and you allow that to happen, who gonna tell him to stop doing what he doing? He doing
Yeah,
what
he
he
got the
wants to
organization
do.
by the balls.
Facts. And I mean, like, bro, his brother's still on the team, bro. That's a problem, bro. I'm sorry.
They say his brother's. They say his brother's a good teammate. So that's what I
Good
heard.
locker room guy.
Good locker room guy. And y'all seen he got moves too. Shit.
A move. All right. But no, let's talk about Doc. Let's get on Doc because that shit is ridiculous. Of course, we all talked about how he came out with he did a radio
Dirty
interview.
Mackin.
Basically,
That's crazy.
so he went out and said that he told the owner, he told them like, why are y'all doing this? When they came to him about releasing Adrian Griffin, and he said that they said, well, we already did it, and we want you. Which is fucking crazy. And like, cause he said that's what gave him a little bit pause about it. Cause you do remember it was like announced before it was like officially announced. It was like unofficially announced, like rumors, and like it really happened pretty quickly. So that part of it is like, but like, come on, man, you cannot come out here and say that on top of what you've been saying all weekend about. Well, first you say that half of your guys were in Cabo the last game before the break. Then you talk about how hard it is coming to this team that was 30-13 in the middle of the season, and how it's harder than you expect because you've been 3-7 or whatever your record is since you became the head coach. You're doing too much fucking talking. You're doing way too much talking for no reason. You're not in the media. You're not in the media anymore. You're not on ESPN. You don't need to be doing all this. And like it's you were only doing it for half a season. You just got out of it. It's not like you were like trying to break a habit or whatever by talking too much on the mic. Like, you were just coaching last in May. You know what I mean? So it's like, what are you doing? I don't know. It's not a good look for that team. And it's from where they were dancing in the layup line after firing the coach to now, it's just way too much going on in the locker room. And I know, like, I know it ain't all like it'll be some shit come out when this season ends. There'll probably be a lot of stuff roll from this, and there might be another trade request. It might be some bullshit going on. It'll be interesting to watch. I don't know.
It will be interesting to watch. What you got to say, Chris?
That's your boy.
For a guy that was Dirty Mac, and he is so unprepared, man. Like, come on, bro. They gonna tell him, I told him to hire me after the All-Star. Like, what is this?
Yeah,
what are we talking about, bro? What are you saying?
Like, can we wait? Can you wait?
I don't know, man. It's like you said, it's a bad look. I mean, you gotta be way more for you to be a veteran coach. Like, you gotta be way better prepared than what you acting like. You acting like they just pulled you out the street and you haven't coached in 10 years, or you've been at the college level. You trying to make your way up and you don't know what's going on. Like, you talking like you don't know, have a clue. And you supposed to be in an advisory role, so you should be prepared. That's my problem.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know.
Like, you were just you only missed half a season. It's not like you were with ESPN on the mic for 4 years. Now you jumping back into it like fucking like Sean Payton or something. Like, you were just doing this shit. You know what I mean? Like why you acting so lost? Like, why you acting like you don't know how to coach? You don't know what the fuck going on with your team? Like, it's a mess.
I definitely understand, like in terms of maybe trying to learn new personalities and learn how to like how people want to be coached and stuff like that. That could definitely be difficult. The the record at this point, it's a little disappointing, especially with the loss right before All-Star break, and it was clear that they really weren't all into it. I think Dame more than anybody needed that break and needed the time away, and I'm very interested to see the stories that come out about Dame post this year, because I feel like we're going to learn a little bit more, because I'm wondering, both Giannis and Dame, I think, the Shaq soundbite to Dame has gone viral in terms of his advice to saying they're being too nice, blah, 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 because it's only going to come down to everybody's going to blame Dame, Giannis, and Doc. And he was absolutely correct on that. But I also think it's warranted, because, Dame has done as good of a job to talk about every other team but his team, it seems like. And he keeps talking about how he wanted to go to Miami, like, and I get the Miami, the Heat culture, blah, blah, blah. And I think a part of the reason that he might have wanted to go to Miami is because he could have been the number one option, blah, blah, like maybe that has something to do with it. But it's like, first, it's like, my boy, like, you're playing with Giannis. Like, you didn't have a better chance with Miami than you had with Giannis. Like, if it's about basketball, it's about winning.
But
it's about all the.
It's not,
if it's about all of that, like you say it is.
Yeah.
Enough with the Miami talk, and that's something that, if what Shaq is talking about, need to stop being too nice. Giannis, Doc need to have that conversation. We don't need to hear no more about Miami and you wanted to go to Miami and Portland shiesty, was shiesty or whatever, because they weren't. They put you in a great position. Nobody gives a fuck if you wanted to go to Miami, to be honest. I understand that you were a great all-time great player for Portland, but like, you had to understand that they had to do what was best for them. And they did not, it's not like they put you in fucking Guam.
Detroit.
Like, they put you with the best or second best player in the NBA, and which somebody that was a favorite.
Guam, but yeah.
Yeah, but but it's like,
you're
bro,
right.
like,
You're right though. Like, it's not like you said, like Kaz was about to say. It's not like we put you with Detroit, man. We ain't just put you with Charlotte, or Charlotte better than Detroit, but we ain't just put you in Detroit or something crazy like maybe. But we gave you. He just won a championship. Like, you can't, if you can't win with that, then Dame, it's something up with you, man.
Yeah. And it's a lot of interesting stuff, because it doesn't, I think Giannis tried his hardest to go the I'm Kobe mentality, I'm Mike mentality, along with like I'm goofy like Bron. It's been a little weird, roller coaster that he wants people to like believe that he is. And maybe a part of that is he's not from the America, so I'm sure there's some things that he can't truly show of himself, or like people wouldn't necessarily completely understand. But it's a weird mix of personalities, like in that locker room. You've got, there's not really
Pat Bev there now too,
and then now you have Pat Bev, who's supposed to be like he's the guy, according to himself, he's the guy that's going to get everybody into shape, and all of a sudden they're going to start, playing defense and doing X, Y, Z. And it's I don't know.
I'm a little worried about that team, especially. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I didn't know when we talked about what they could do at the trade deadline a little bit. I wasn't expecting the Pat Bev trade to go there, but now that it did happen, that throws me off from them even more. I get why they did it, trying to increase your perimeter defense. I get that, but I just have more questions about that team now. I have a lot more questions about that team now with Pat Bev there.
Because you're like using the Pat Bev, like,
it's like
save us.
Yeah,
and it's only gonna go to a certain place, because Pat Bev. I like Pat Bev. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to disrespect Pat Bev. Pat Bev been out here talking since he's gotten that podcast. He's out here talking like he is that guy. Like he, my teams make it to the playoffs every year. I've never not made it, blah, 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 shit like that. Yeah. And it's like, bro, like, it's not because of you, my dog. Like, stop. You're not, he like, oh, I told XYZ to come to do this, and now you see him and he's an all-star. Nigga, shut up, bro. Like, no, that never happened. Like, bro, come on, bro. Like, let's be real. And I ain't trying to be disrespectful, but
he
like,
funny.
let's
He
be real.
funny though,
Bro.
for
Like,
real.
let's be real. He is funny. He's definitely a comedian, but like, even the Draymond podcast the same way. They're literally both the exact same dudes, exact same player. One's just 6'7" and got to ride Steph coattails, and the other got to be on James Harden.
Oh man.
They
Yeah,
are.
I don't
they
know.
not?
We'll see how the Bucks season kind of unfolds over these next few weeks. And of course, we'll be back to talk about it all. But like, there's some problems with that team. Good for your Celtics though, Chris. But I got a couple questions too though.
It's a big year for the three of them, honestly, because it's a lot of questions about the East. Really has it's a whole side of people with a bunch of questions. You have the Celtics. I mean, is this going to be the year that they're like, if we don't win, there's going to be the inevitable, is Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, do they need to split up, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, at this point, with this team, if they don't make it to the finals, that's probably a reality that really needs to be explored. If we're talking, then we got to go to the next team, which is Milwaukee, or really the Cavs are the number 2 seed right now, so they would be the next team. You've got Donovan Mitchell, who seemingly always a 1 seed, or at this point top 2 seed. He's always up there. Is he the guy that can he had that awkward back and forth with Shaq, where Shaq was basically like, you ain't shit, like you ain't done nothing, basically on live TV. And at this point, Donovan hasn't necessarily answered those questions, so he's a question mark. Garland, Evan Mobley, is you supposed to be that next? People were talking about an AD KG mix. He's got questions. At 3, you got the 76ers and the Milwaukee Bucks, 3-4. The 76ers, we don't even really need to talk about freaking Embiid too much. He's question of the year, question of the day, question of the month, forever.
It's wild though, that Embiid shit. Because I mean, like, are you ever going to be healthy at the end of the season? Are you ever? And it's looking like he never will.
And it's always a face, a knee, something.
It's always something. I get this one, like somebody landed on your leg. Okay, cool. Like I get that. That's freak shit that happens. But even if he didn't, something else would have happened. Like you just like he just cannot stay healthy at full. He just cannot. And sometimes it's like that for big guys. We've seen it a lot with big men. Just wanted. I mean, it just happens. Like, so how long do you keep doing this shit? If you're the 76ers, honestly, how long do you keep doing this shit? Like, you cannot depend on this guy. Like, I get he puts butts in seats. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? You are Philly. But, like, this is insanity. You keep running this shit back. Like, shit gonna change. He's injured every single year at the end of the year.
I don't know if he's ever going to be able to fix that or change that, or if it's a conditioning thing is working out, because I mean it surely possibly could, but he'll forever have those questions until he can answer it. We obviously just talked about the Bucks. You got the Knicks. The Julius Randle question is forever going to be there. Jalen Brunson, obviously he hasn't been somebody that has too many questions because he hasn't really been in this position.
Yet. Yeah.
But obviously he got put into the limelight a little bit when Becky had said that he can't, you need a bigger guy basically to win a championship. He can't be a 1A. Which most people would probably agree with, but when you hear it said like that, it looked like he was being tried. Yeah. So you got him. It's silly shit. You got the Nets, who just fired their head coach, Jacques Vaughn, and now it's been said that been rumors that some of the team was upset with their, once again, Ben Simmons seems to find himself in the middle of drama with them, looking to run the offense through Ben, or like just basically coddle Ben again. Got questions there. The Pacers, we talked so much about Therese Halliburton at the beginning of the year, or at least everybody else did. And
ever since the Eastern tournament,
just like last year, it went like he was the next. He was the next point guard, and
they were the 3 seed or whatever they were.
As soon as the year turned from December to January, it's been they got Pascal Siakam, Like it's
Yeah, it's
so they've got questions on questions. It's a lot of teams. Like in the East, it's literally just a big question mark.
it's like who's gonna answer them? The Hawks are supposed to be the Hawks had a full off season with Quinn Snyder. They were supposed to have all this time together, more time together for Trey and DeJounte. Then you come out here looking garbage. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then the Heat, like they're up and down, and it's like, well, what are they? Which
And they're
we
just
already knew.
they're just out the way. Like not
Yeah.
even.
Nobody's even asking questions about them. That's the thing about it. It's just weird. It's weird as hell in the East. It's hard to come up with any kind of predictions or projections for that conference right now, especially when you get down to that lower half. It's like, what is going on? Like, what is this?
It truly goes down to even the bad teams like the Hornets.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on with LaMelo? Like what's just going on?
What
there,
is going
period?
on with LaMelo?
Like, what is going like everybody, I was watching an interview with Therese Halliburton talking about, his draft day, and he was talking about, everybody was saying that it was supposed to be LaMelo and Ant. And if you fast forward a few years, it's Therese and Ant. Where's LaMelo? Like LaMelo was supposed to be the guy.
He's been hurt. Okay, cool, but he's been playing a lot still. He's been playing some games, and it's like you're not moving no kind of needle. It's like
at all, especially as a true point guard. Like your team should be elevating like with you. So questions there, questions with the Pistons, questions with the Wizards. What the fuck direction are they going?
What are the Wizards doing? What are the Wizards? Jordan Poole is the laughingstock of the NBA this season. All his
not even
lights.
Talked about. Nigga said he was going to average 26. Yeah, all right.
You got Kyle Kuzma saying no thank you, I'm gonna stay here when you had a chance to go to
the Mavericks. Dallas. It's a lot of
Toronto. They're in like what the fuck are they doing? They got rid of Pascal, and it's like, well, okay, we're just like
their new leader is somebody that people are making fun of his mental. Like we don't know, is he a little slow? Or what?
Like the only one kind of gradually increasing is like Orlando. Or like Orlando's 30-25. They got significantly better from last season. They're making strides. They have Paolo who made the All-Star. Like, okay, cool, Orlando. Like that's the kind of trajectory. But it's just weird. Like they're surrounded by a bunch of weird shit going on. So it's like,
yep. It's an interesting year. It's an interesting year in basketball, and I mean, all in all, between everything, the NBA just needs to do a better job of promoting the game. They need to do a better job of finding the guys, and to kind of go back to some of the stuff that were with the Doc stuff. Feels like the guy, that's most like trying to push the game forward on a national scale is JJ Redick, and it's coming back to where people are like, he broached the question like, basically, are fans more interested in learning the game, or they more interested in just being entertained? And
that's the thing. Like the main thing is not the main thing, and that's kind of what you've been seeing, especially when the Lakers are bottom feeding, especially when your top team, like your
marquee
spotlight team, your marquee team is bottom feeding, where it's not about the actual where do they stand really in the West. It's like, what are they going to do within their team? Like it's not really like the main thing isn't the main thing. So all you're looking at is what are they going to do next? What's going to change? What needs to happen? Who's going to come? Who's going to get traded? Like. You're not even looking at the state of the Western Conference. You're just looking at that. It's weird.
What teams? We don't even talk about what teams match up with each other. Like what are they doing well at? And it's just.
We're not talking about like season series against teams. Like none of that stuff is like it's not being talked about at all. And it's a shame, really, because it wasn't like.
And I mean, I guess that's why we see the
really
NFL
wasn't.
has,
but like there's
their
no
ratings
excitement.
Are going up
really.
tremendously, while the NBA is just slowly, going down. And unfortunately, we'll see. We all talked about it a little bit. We've talked about it about how the NBA is supposed to pick up around this time. So the games start back up tomorrow. So we will see how things start to go. How these teams start to play. Obviously, coming out of the All-Star weekend and you have LeBron against Steph, and now LeBron's missing that game. It's not it's not a great sign following this conversation. But, we'll see. We got some more interesting stuff this weekend. We'll start getting into the Saturday NBA, primetime games, and then the Sunday, showcases and stuff like that. That's
matinees and stuff.
So that'll be interesting to see where they go from there. But switching gears to the NFL, as we talked about, NFL is king, and they continue to be king.
Yeah, it's a
But
hell of an all season so far.
even if it's the off season, the news train never stops. And with that being said, we do have the NFL Combine coming next week in Indianapolis towards the end of the week. They actually switched it from the old prime time, or the old prime time. Last year they tried to do the Combine in prime time where they were doing it at like 7, 8. And I guess that didn't work out well because they're already switched back to 3 and 1 o'clock. It starts on the 29th on that Thursday. You got the D linemen and the linebackers, and then on Friday it's the defensive backs and tight ends. Saturday it's the quarterbacks, receivers, and running backs, which obviously Friday and Saturday are typically like the ones that everybody wants to see because you're getting the fastest times and stuff like that. And then rounding out with the offensive lineman on Sunday. Who is first of all, before we get into like outside of the combine, let's give the rookies their shine and their focus a little bit here. Who is somebody that you see being a workout warrior, or maybe a couple players that you guys see being workout warriors at the combine?
Coming into it, I think it will be, and I think we kind of talked about this too.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I really like Jared Verse. Jared Verse out of Florida State. I think he's one of those guys where he's gonna we're gonna see how the rest of his physical stand out as far as like his quickness, how fast he is, what time he runs. But strength wise, and especially like the bench press, I know like that's gonna be one that's gonna be like, damn, like because he was supposed to come out last year, end up going back. And I think he just got stronger from that. So I'm really interested to see kind of how he does throughout it all. But other than that, tough to say. Maybe Xavier Worthy. I want to see how fast he runs in the 40. I'm interested to see how that, because he's the type that he's not on a lot of people's radars right now. Like, I mean, he's on the important people, yeah, but not like general public, like not on the radar. But he's one that can really turn heads to at this combine. So I'm excited to see. Honestly, the whole receiver group is so many. It's so many. I was looking at the list earlier today. It's so many receivers that can produce. We'll see. It's all about fit at the end of the day for all these guys. It's all about fit, where they go, the scheme and stuff. But Xavier Worthy is one I want to we'll see how he does.
We'll
you got anybody that you're looking forward to, Chris?
I mean, I'm like you, and like I want to see the whole receiver group because this receiver group might be fire to come out. But I guess I can say Malik Neighbors. I'm just interested to see how he measures out and stands out during the combine. And like I said, I think we talked about it last week. I like to see like the not the bottom tier, but the lower half of the top quarterbacks. Like your Bo Nix, that range of quarterbacks. I want to see what they do.
Because it's always funny before you go, Shy. It's always funny, like going back to last year when AR was getting like they were gushing over here, like everybody was, especially like on the the media, like the ones talking, Rich Eisen and whoever else was talking with, like they were, oh my god, he's standing at 6'4", and and then of course he runs the 4.4, and it's like, oh my god, and then it's just like I'm interested to see who gets that kind of bump this year from that quarterback group. And seeming like it's gonna be JJ, but I got my doubts about him. But what you got, Shot?
It's gonna be interesting because I think the receivers, is probably one of the deepest classes this year, or the deepest position groups in this class this year. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of receivers that I'm interested in seeing. I know I talked about, Ladd McConkey last week is one guy that I'm looking forward to, which I think he might go out there. Like I said, he might go out there run a 4.4, 4.3. Don't be surprised.
I'm telling you, if he does that, he's definitely first round. He's on the cusp right now, for real. But he go to KC.
That'd be interesting. But I don't know how. I don't know because Rashee Rice is kind of a similar player there.
That's fair.
I'm interested to see. So, of course, I'm going to stick with the receivers. I'm interested to see if Marvin Harrison. I'm really interested to see who all runs, first of all. So I'm interested to see if Jaden Daniels runs. because we have seen a trend. Even though we did get our Anthony Richardson running last year, we have seen a trend. Some of the quarterbacks don't like to run. You know, we missed out on getting to see Justin Fields at the combine. We missed out on getting to see Trevor Lawrence at the combine, as well as Lamar Jackson if he did his. Lame. But you know, I'm really interested. So I'm interested to see if Marvin Harrison Jr. runs, because I would like to see if he could break that 4.3 4.4. I think that would really cement him within that top 4 picks. But really, some guys that have
Do you think he's that fast? Though?
Yeah, I think he's 4.4.
You think he's that fast?
4.3 for sure. If Chris Olave is out there running a 4.3, for sure.
That's good.
And Garrett Wilson too. But the guys I think
Garrett
that
Wilson
need
was
to
definitely
have,
faster than I thought he was.
Yeah, for sure. Garrett was the fastest one I think out of all of the group so far.
Yeah, I did not think he was gonna be that fast.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm interested to see Keon Coleman, number one. I think that he needs a good time. There was a point in time at the beginning of the season where it really was him and Marvin Harrison that a lot of people were buzzing about. Marvin Harrison, I'm not even going to talk about him. He doesn't really count. He's kind of been like that shoe-in top 5 guy for the past 2-3 years, really. So Keon Coleman was looked at as that next up, and then as the season played out, Malik Neighbors, he kind of took over the reins again, and then Rome Odunze, he kind of stepped up as well. And Keon Coleman has for a lot of people has dropped towards the end of the first round to second round, and at one point people were talking about a top 10 pick. So I'm very interested to see if he breaks that 4.5 range, or if people are going to kind of pigeonhole him to more of like a Brandon Marshall type receiver. But I really want to see all the big guys. So between him, AD Mitchell, I want to see if he's able to break 4.4, 4.3. Brian Thomas, I really want to see what Brian Thomas runs from LSU, the other LSU receiver. I mean, 6'4", 205, 210, and they're saying he's probably going to run a 4.3, and there's a chance that he might even be the fastest at the draft. That's going to be a sight to see. That would be
crazy.
That's definitely going to be a sight to see. And then lastly, I want to see Xavier Legette from South Carolina.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm not completely sold on him, but I do think that a good time from him will change a lot of things for a lot of people. So that will be very interesting to see. But outside of the actual on field and stuff like that, we will get to kind of see how comfortable these quarterbacks get, and it's nothing really too much to take away from. But we will see how comfortable the quarterbacks are able to get with the receivers and stuff like that. But the biggest thing is the news. The news that's going to come next week is another week outside the Senior Bowl, outside of the East-West Shrine game, where all of these guys are really starting to be together. And now at this point, what's different from the Senior Bowl and the East-West Shrine game and some of those college all-star games post the season is that now the organizations are settled. All the coaches are there. All the OCs are set. All the DCs are set. Your GMs are set. Maybe there might be a little bit of influx in terms of – so the front office, for the viewers, the front office and their kind of Black Monday / hiring cycle is post the NFL draft. So that's why we don't typically see too many changes there. So there might still be some talkings in that we'll see after the NFL draft, some people leaving and going to other organizations. But the main focus right now is like the coaches, getting the coaching staff correct and stuff like that. So now the combine's the first full, I guess NFL event where everybody is settled. Everything is settled. So really where a lot of the trade talks are going to be, we're going to start hearing about trade rumors. We're going to start hearing about, obviously, the franchise tag window opened up on Tuesday, so yesterday. So we're going to start hearing about, XYZ being tagged. We've already started to hear rumors about T. Higgins being a tag candidate, possibly Michael Pittman Jr. being a tag candidate, maybe Baker, here and there from some different people. But it's also where trades happen. So just in the past couple years, the Carson Wentz was traded to the Colts on February 18th of 2021. So that's right around this time frame, right around the combine. He was also traded to that very following year. He was traded to Washington on March 9th. For Matt Ryan and for Deshaun Watson, both they were officially traded to signed on on the opening of the league year, which was around March 21st. But there was rumors. Obviously, we all knew about the Deshaun Watson and that little saga and how they set stuff up, and so we could assume that Matt Ryan was going somewhere as well. But that kind of gives us a clear window of when we can expect to start seeing things, and especially with Justin Fields, he's probably one of the biggest dominoes to fall between him and Kirk Cousins at the quarterback position. We're probably going to know with here in the next couple of weeks, like where those guys are going to land. I wouldn't be surprised if by next week, Justin Fields has already been on his new team. Yeah. So that's really more so than the on field. That's what I'm looking forward to the most, because it's really when shit start to shake, you start to kind of see things rounding out. The free agency starts March 11th. That's the opening of the legal tampering window.
Tampering period.
Yeah. So that's by March 11th, baby. It officially starts on March 13th, but by March 11th, we are going to know. So we've got a little over a month. A little less than a month actually. We're going to know. Yeah.
Pretty much. It's crazy how kind of fast it got into it. But yeah, I'm interested to see, of course, but that's one of the main things, besides the actual draft and the rookies and stuff, where Justin Fields goes. I watched his interview with the St. Brown brothers today. Of course, like that's been the biggest news of the day, pretty much, because he kind of addressed, when he unfollowed the Bears on Instagram and kind of his reasons for that, and
which was bullshit, but I mean,
yeah, for sure. But how he's like, he did, say, just tell me, like, he just want to know if he's going to get traded or not. I mean, I get that, of course, just being kind of in limbo, because I don't think they know exactly what they want to do or where they want to send them yet, and that kind of stuff. So I think they're definitely drafting a quarterback. I think
they're drafting a quarterback. 100%. One of their lead writers, Brad Biggs, I believe his name is Brad Biggs.
Yeah.
He already came out and basically said the conversation right now is between who. It's not. Not a are we. It's between. Is it gonna be one of the other quarterbacks outside of Caleb Williams? So he is gone. He's out of there. The reason that he unfollowed the Bears is because he found out that he was out of there officially.
Yeah, he's definitely out of there.
We don't have to do all that.
We just don't know exactly where. I mean, of course, the Steelers were brought up, and then some Steelers reporters came out and said that they're not looking for starters, to come in like that. I don't know how true that is, but of course, Falcons' name's been brought up, a lot. I don't really know where else he can, like, if you're looking at like possible landing spots. This stuff needs to happen over the next couple of weeks, because you don't want to get to the draft. If you're Chicago, you don't want to get to the draft and people already have their answers at quarterback, through free agency and other trades and stuff, when you're looking at not getting prime compensation for Justin. Yeah. So
definitely lose their leverage at that point. And, there's been rumors about his compensation level. There's been varying ones. Somebody came out and said that he could probably get in a first, the tail end of the end of the round type first, which really means that his value is probably about a third right now, probably about a second or third. We're gonna give you the real here. His value is probably about a third, maybe two thirds, maybe a second and a third. But it's gonna be interesting, because not only do you don't want to get to the draft, but it makes it incredibly hard for you to start signing free agents as well. Because free agents, if you want to sign a receiver in free agency, they're going to be looking like, hey,
who's the quarterback?
Obviously, they want their money, and if money talks, and if you're going to give them the highest contract in the world, then whatever, it is what it is. But most of these guys are going to be looking like, yeah, the money's good, but who's throwing me the ball?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't make another contract if the ball is going out here and there. And I think that the Steelers comments are a little bit more interesting to me, because I think that I don't think it takes them out of the Justin Fields conversation. I think that shows you a little bit more. The Steelers aren't necessarily an organization, I feel like, that is here to bullshit. So I think that kind of gives you a glimpse of what people value what people value Justin Fields as. So I do think that the Steelers are interested, but I think that what they're trying to tell you is his value is not as a starter. His value is he's going to be here to compete with Mason Rudolph, compete with Kenny Pickett, compete with whomever else that we decide to bring in. It's not going to be a situation where we get Justin Fields and it's like, oh, he's the guy.
Week one, you're the guy. You know, like we're hitching our wagon to you. I get that.
And I would be surprised, honestly, at this point, you know, if any team does that full on without bringing him any type of competition. It'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting because at the end of the day, you have to sign him. You know, it'd be smart to sign him if he does have a somewhat decent season. It would be smart to sign him towards the end of the. If you are expecting him to be your starter, then there's a small possibility that you probably go ahead and extend him this year.
That's what I've been saying too. Like you trade for him and decline the fifth-year option,
but do the Jordan Love thing.
Exactly, which I get that as well, and that's what I would, because like you don't want to drag it out and you get to the point where you know you're kind of just like
you're Dak.
Like just make your decision. yeah.
Giving Dak a no trade clause, and now he's got all the leverage.
That's what I'm saying. So if he goes out and balls this year and you're able to sign him to an extension that is a lot lower than, you know what I mean, a lot lower than probably what he'll be demanding after a great season or something like that, depending on where he goes. And it's best to do that shit now before it gets to that level.
Well, I think that any contract that he signs now is just going to be a 1 year. I think it's only going to be so.
I think
it's
only 2 years. I was thinking about 2.
He's
maybe
not
just 1 year.
No chance. No chance in hell. Yeah. It's going to be no chance. They're not going to commit. The team's going to trade for him to commit, because you still have to commit a decent sized contract. Like that Jordan Love contract's not just. It ain't just pennies. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. And the other thing is that it's not only Justin Fields, is we're going to start seeing the retirements. You know, I think we talked a little bit about it last night, offline, but, you know, Jason Kelce hasn't officially retired yet. And now that we're away from the Super Bowl, we're kind of away from all of the NFL like news cycle. There's going to be something else that needs to catch the news for the NFL outside of the combine. The combine's not going to be able to do it itself. So I'm sure we're going to start to see retirements. The ship has sailed probably for my prediction in terms of Travis Kelce retiring. But is there anybody that you could see being a surprise retirement this year?
Chris, you got anybody?
We always get one, and you know, obviously Andrew Luck wasn't this early into the season, but we got, you know, you get your Andrew Lucks, the Tom Brady, obviously, you know, it was kind of expected, but also kind of not expected. What's old boy Chris Borland a few years back with the 49ers, he retired after his rookie season. Luke Kuechly retiring early, Patrick Willis.
Yeah, I don't know. Calais Campbell, I wouldn't be surprised if he go ahead and call it quits, but I feel like he got a little bit more. But I mean, he had 6.5 sacks last season for the Falcons. Definitely showed signs of, you know, he still got a little bit left. I mean, but he is old, you know what I mean? So like, how long can you really do this grind? Like, he's at the point now where he's going to be, if he doesn't retire, he's going to be one that come at the end of training camp or the end of preseason when it's time to go, and he just going. I can see that for him. I mean, maybe.
What about OBJ?
He ain't gonna call it quits. He gonna try again. I mean, maybe not with obviously with the Ravens,
but
you know, he's not gonna get the same. Probably not gonna get the similar contract as he got last year. You know, he does have a lot more. You know, he did prove that he's got some left in the tank for sure. But do you think that Odell's a type? You know, he doesn't necessarily strike me as a type that wants to go out when he's like.
On his last, like,
you know, like he's on his last leg. See, he strikes me out as somebody that would want to go out with his legs intact and stuff like that. So
I think 100%. If the Ravens would have won this year, he's out of there. No, you call that shit a career. Sucks for him. And now he's reportedly dating Kim Kardashian. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Got a couple kids there. He gonna be stepfathering, and he probably gonna be beef with Kanye. So hey,
I know. I mean, I can't really think of any surprises right now, but we'll probably get something. You think Jason's out of there, Chris? For sure,
out of there. I'm like 80% sure he's out of there. I think he wants to play football, but at the same time, the injuries. He just had another kid, so that's his third one. And with the podcast doing great, and he's just being a great personality in general. I mean, he's already talked to Fox and CBS in general, so I think he's out of there.
Yeah, I saw that. I heard that. Yeah.
Okay. We shall see. Next week we'll shed some light into a lot. And next week we'd also go ahead and start our little preseason look, and our offseason overview of different teams. Do you guys want to start in the NFC, or you guys want to start in the AFC?
Ooh, let's start AFC.
Okay, we can start in the AFC with the AFC West. The reigning Super Bowl champion. Give a look ahead into what they're looking like. They've got obviously a couple free agents that we'll hear a lot about, in Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed in the next few weeks. But obviously we got some big news with Russ. We'll probably know a little bit about Russ, where he will fall next week as well. As well as the Chargers making their move with Jim Harbaugh. And the Raiders, they're lurking as well. Justin Fields, who's to say he won't be wearing black and silver? He's got his former offensive coordinator is over there as well. And if they say they didn't have any issues like they claim they did, shit, who's to say Justin Fields can't end up there?
That's what Gessie came out and said. Gessie came out and said that he loved Justin. So it's like, well, and then I've been seeing Justin. I've been seeing Baker to the Raiders. I don't know. I don't know if they can swing that, but I would like to see it. But we know we'll see. They gotta do something though.
Also, might learn about Mike. But shit, that wraps us up for a short and sweet. Post All-Star break reactions, as well as the combine. We look forward to catching up with y'all again for episode 26. We'll catch y'all later.
Yes, sir.